Trading Places is a 1983 classic comedy starring Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy.
I'm literally going to say this is not a con movie. Even though they advertise a con movie, it's not a con movie. It's a gambling movie.
Yeah, but at the same time, these two men kind of get their lives turned around. One of them gets conned out of being poor, and the other one gets conned out of being rich. It's done as an experiment. Okay, so this movie's from 1983. If you haven't seen the movie yet, too bad. You're about to get spoilers. This movie is about these two rich guys. They are Mortimer and Randall. They're super rich. They've been like rich probably forever. They're stockbroker moguls, or they're in the stock market where they made all their money. They're community brokers. Dan Aykroyd plays Louis Winthorpe III. He's a wealthy commodities broker, and Eddie Murphy plays Billy Ray Valentine, a street hustler. So there's our con man, I guess.
Which he has the same routine as Freddy from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Except it's not his grandmother, it's him. And he's pretending to be a legless veteran. Like the police are like always shooing him out of the park, that type of thing. If he's not homeless, he's pretty close to it.
Which basically means, just like Freddy, he would have benefited from Telegram and WhatsApp.
Freddy must be a better con artist than Billy Ray is, because Freddy at least made his way to Europe, where Billy Ray's still in New York.
Yeah, Billy Ray was just still rolling around the streets.
The whole situation where Dan Aykroyd's character and Eddie Murphy's character, they come across each other outside of one of the rich people clubs. As he's leaving, Billy Ray runs into him, and he thinks that he's getting robbed, and it just shows how much of an absolute pussy Louis is. That was one of my notes. He is such a pussy. This movie is the unpussifying of Louis Winthorpe. Because at the end of the movie, he's actually a man. The Duke brothers get this idea of doing an experiment because they want the Nobel Prize. And they're like, okay, we're going to take the rich guy and make him poor, and take the poor guy and make him rich.
You need to go a little bit further than that. They want to take the rich guy and make him poor, homeless, a criminal, a drug addict, everything that you can think of would be bad for the person in society.
And in return, they want to take this homeless guy that they're assuming is a drug addict, which is the one thing he wasn't, but he was everything else. And they want to turn him into an outstanding citizen.
And for 80s, you have to point out the race. They're taking a rich white man and making him poor, and taking a poor black man and making him rich. I mean, now it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but back then it was a big deal.
So Louis Winthorpe, his butler, so he's not a fan of his. So when the Duke brothers go and say, hey, we're going to pay you some money, just play along with our little plan here. And they decide that they are going to pull off this scam where they're going to go and frame Louis Winthorpe as a drug dealer who's also been embezzling. This way, it discredits him with all his friends. He gets him thrown out of the company. He's thrown out of his club. He loses his fiance. On the other hand, Billy Ray, he's in prison, and the Duke brothers, they bail him out, and they give him a car ride. They go and say, you're a free man, we can stop the car right now and you can just take off. We'll never hold it against you and you're free to go. Or how would you like to be rich?
They also specified that they're doing it not just as an experiment, but to prove the fact that they don't need to have this specific person doing this job. They can just take somebody off the street and that person will do the job just as effective, which is basically predicting the rise and fall of the stock market to make them millions of dollars. I think this movie has two distinct parts to it. The first part is just phenomenal. The movie is just amazing. And it has me hooked to find out, where this is actually going to go. Then you get to the second part, which starts with the train ride. And it becomes a train wreck. Whole train ride and them dressing up in the car. It felt like they're like, we're done making a movie that's going to be serious and good, and let's just make this stupid Saturday Night Live.
I think Trading Places is a classic. Every time I watch the train scene, I'm like, oh, this is my least favorite part of the movie, because they could have found another way of getting that stuff off that guy.
I think it's ridiculous that at first they can't tell that this guy is in a gorilla suit. They're like, oh, we only had one gorilla, but now we had two. Like, what do they freaking just reproduce on their own?
That's why they showed how drunk they were, so that maybe they just figured, well, maybe we miscounted when the guys also at the end of it when they're supposed to be at that place, those guys weren't.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm talking about. They're like, oh, now there's two. Well, let's just leave them that way because we just acquired a gorilla for no apparent reason.
Yeah, no, if this happened in the real world, there'd be an investigation of, hopefully they would find out eventually that there was a person in the outfit.
That would be one of the first things they'd find out.
When you go and take down my hoax track. Jamie Lee Curtis, she's playing a Swedish girl wearing lederhosen. The guy in the ape suit, the apes are going to love each other and all this other stuff. It was so stupid. It's a great movie with a weak ending, is a way to look at it.
Now, after it gets past that tree, when it gets to the stock market scene, I had already seen the ending. I'd seen the ending before, and that's all I'd seen of it. I didn't know what was going on. Now that I got to see what was going on, it made the ending more interesting. I have a big problem with the ending, though. They had all these shares to sell. Where did they get shares?
Okay, so this is where shorting comes.
Okay.
Do you know what shorting is?
I know of shorting. I don't know much about it.
Let's use a commodity that you know of. You have a collection of game controllers. Say, okay, Mike, I want to borrow your Xbox controller for the day. I sell it to somebody with the idea that at the end of the day, the Xbox controller will be worth less and I can just buy it back for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's what shorting is. They're selling. They're selling borrowed stock from somebody else, and at the end of it, they were buying back all those stocks that they said they sold that they were borrowing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Something I had to learn it. Watching the movie, watching that one scene, and I was putting it together like they're short selling. Dude, I know this one. I know short selling. Okay. This is a very, very smart movie. The monkey thing is very, very dumb.
Yeah.
It's a dumb part in a smart movie, and it hurts the film. Have to know what short selling is in order to get one of the parts of the movie. Shows you how smart the movie is.
Is it one time where you want to see a director's cut where instead of adding things, they cut things?
We both recommend Trading Places.
I will recommend, I just want to say, when you get to that train scene, be ready.
Be ready for SNL to take over. When you go and take down my Volkswagen.